welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the fourth uh, Zoom webinar that we've done this weekend in recognizing autism and how important it is for us when we talk about diversity, when we talk about inclusion, and we talk about equity. So tonight, we have two panelists, two women that have loved to be part of a team since last year. And I want to introduce to you Lisa Pugliese Lacrosse. She's loved serving autism founder and CEO. Robin Jones from Florida Atlantic University, FAU Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. And so now, ladies, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, as Roxanne explained, I am Robin Jones. I am leading an initiative with FAU CARD, Center for Autism and Related Disabilities, an initiative here in Palm Beach, Florida, for the underrepresentation of African Americans with autism. Let me share my screen really quick with you. Okay, so what is autism? Autism spectrum disorder, known as ASD, is a developmental disorder that includes three specific things identify autism: deficits in social communication, social interaction, and the presence of restrictive, repetitive patterns of behavior and restricted interest. What does that look like? In deficits in social communication, verbal communication deficits may be trouble taking turns in conversations. For example, they might not like to take turns or find it hard to answer questions about themselves. They may talk a lot about their favorite topic, but find it difficult to talk about a range of topics. Nonverbal communication, have trouble reading nonverbal cues, those body language or tone of voice, like if someone's getting annoyed or feeling frustrated and their tone changes, they may not recognize those things. Or the use of eye contact in unusual ways. A lot of kids with autism may look out of the side of corners of their eyes. Developing relationships, they prefer to spend time on their own rather than with friends. They have trouble understanding the social rules of friendships. They may have trouble relating to children their own age, meaning they may prefer to play with kids younger than them or much older or older adults. And then they may find it difficult to adjusting behaviors in different social situations and invade personal space. They may get too close to you and may not understand those personal boundaries. Deficits in or presence of restrictive, repetitive behaviors. What do those look like? Repetitive interests may have unusual interests or obsessions. They might collect sticks or memorize football statistics. Have compulsive behaviors like lining things up or putting things closer to their door, or have unusual attachment to objects, may carry toys around as a teenager or collect unusual items like chip bags or shoelaces, or be easily upset by a change. They like to follow routines. They like things to be the same way every time. May want to sit in a certain seat every time or have a certain food at a certain meal every time. And then repetitive noises, making repetitive noises like grunts or clearing their throats or squealing. And then they have sensory sensitivities, maybe sensitive to sensory experiences like upset when they hear certain sounds or uncomfortable with a certain type of clothing, or may only want to eat a certain type of texture of food. Or they may even seek out certain sensory stimulations, for example, like deep pressures or seeking vibrating objects or fluttering their fingers. So autism spectrum disorder is a spectrum. So there are different ranges or levels of autism. A high functioning autism level 1, meaning they need support, or the individual may need social or communication, may have social communication skills and repetitive behaviors, but are only noticeable when they have certain supports in place. And then you have level 2, where they may need substantial support. Social communication skills and repetitive behaviors are still obvious when they have those supports, but to the casual observer. And then you have the more severe level of autism, level 3, where they need substantial support. The social and communication skills and repetitive behaviors severely impair their daily life. The prevalence. So now that we know what ASD, autism spectrum disorder, looks like, let's talk about the prevalence. Currently, 1 in 54 children by the age of 8 will be diagnosed with autism. So you will more than likely come in contact, if you haven't already, come in contact with an individual with autism in your program. Right now, there is a 4-to-1 ratio where more boys than girls are currently being diagnosed with autism. There is no ethnic, racial, or cultural boundaries. However, the underidentification does differ across racial groups, and there are no social economic boundaries when it comes to autism. If you can, really quick, from your browser that you're on, open another browser or your cell phone. Let's do a quick Google search, if we will. Google search autism and toddlers. And then you look at the images. Click on images in your Google search and look at the images. Then let's try and go with autism and boys, and then look at the images. Take mental notes of things that you see or what you don't see. And then lastly, Google search autism and girls and click on images and take mental notes of those images and tell me what you see. Or take a mental note of what you see or don't see. The amount of people diagnosed with autism is increasing, but it's not increasing for all. There's an awareness of a problem. African-American children with autism are usually unidentified, delayed identified, or currently being misidentified. The prevalence of ASD. Most kids are diagnosed right now after the age of 4, but research has shown that diagnosing of autism at the age of 18 months can be reliable, valid, and stable. Research has also found that a late diagnosis is associated with the increase of parental stress and delays vital early intervention, which is critical to positive outcomes over time. Symptoms of autism progressively interfere with normative learning. And studies have found that interventions implemented before the age of 12 months and 48 months are associated with significant gains in cognition, language, and adaptive behaviors. Early intervention seems to be significantly improving the outcome for many individuals who are now going to college and becoming more independent adults. This is a checklist. So if you come across someone and you don't really know what to say, or you may suspect someone has autism, this is a free resource. I'm going to give you a few websites that you can go to, but this one is Autism Navigator, and you can simply print this out or send a parent or an individual to this website for this 16 early signs of autism, and they can take a little self-assessment on their own. It's a tough conversation to have, but this is a tool that would help say, okay, well, maybe, we may have some notions that there may be suspicion of autism. And you can go to this and have them fill it out. And if they score a certain number, then maybe they may need to take next steps. And at the bottom of this form, there are next steps that they can actually take. So again, web resources that anyone can go to is Autism Navigator. That was from what I showed you previously. The Center for Disease Control, FAU Card, which is my program, and then Autism Speaks. These are 4 really great websites, web resources that you can go to for any information that you may need on autism. Early diagnosis and intervention have lifelong consequences for children with autism. And this is my contact information. Feel free to take a screenshot, take a picture with your camera, or I believe it might have even been emailed to you. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. So now that you know what autism looks like, how those can be affected by autism, Lisa will come on and tell you a little more of how you can incorporate certain strategies into your programs.
Thank you, Robin. That was wonderful information. I'm super excited for you guys to be here today. I am a USPTA PTR certified tennis professional and also a speech and language therapist. So I opened an organization January 2017, Love Serving Autism. And my goal today is just to review some basics of both inclusive programming and also adaptive tennis. So let me share my screen and we can go into my first PowerPoint, which is actually about inclusion. And the reason I wanted to talk about inclusion first is because I'm not sure all of you, but I don't know how many will actually have their own organization for adaptive tennis. So I'm assuming most of you encounter a child in your after school program who may have ADHD or maybe higher functioning on the spectrum. So I love this quote: inclusion is opening our minds to new possibilities, making room for different perspectives, and enriching the experience for everyone along the way. To begin, just to differentiate between adaptive and inclusion, the term adaptive refers to modifying or adapting an activity to meet the needs of an individual with special needs. So in our organization, Love Serving Autism, how do we adapt? We implement communication visuals for program participants who are nonverbal or minimally verbal to engage in tennis class. The term inclusion refers to offering the same activities to everyone while providing support and services to accommodate people's differences. So for instance, a student with autism may join an after-school junior tennis program at your facility or club. As I'm not going to read all of this, but as Robin already discussed, ASD or autism spectrum disorder, the statistics now are 1 in 54 children. So if you attend one of our classes, you'll see a 4-to-1 ratio of boys to girls. More boys have autism, and so if you go to some of the classrooms in special needs schools, you'll see more boys than girls. Every 11 minutes, a child who is born is diagnosed with autism. So the reason I really wanted to do this coaching webinar today is because even though not all of you may specialize in adaptive tennis, you will at some point teach a child on the spectrum or a child with some type of developmental disability. So what behaviors may a tennis professional encounter if a child is on the autism spectrum and participating in an after-school inclusive tennis program? Some of the challenges you may see as a tennis professional: a child may demonstrate challenges with attention span, following directions, and a lack of social skills and filter. So for instance, if all the children are standing in a line and one child is maybe off to the side, or they're not able to process your verbal instruction, and maybe during a conversation with other peers, they may be off topic or may say something that's not always appropriate. So those are some of the challenges you may experience as a tennis pro on the court. And again, you may not know in advance a child has a diagnosis. So in that situation, if it's really challenging and you're not sure how to work with a child, it may be good to have a really respectful, positive conversation with the parent and say, I love having your child in my class. He's doing so well in these areas. And I'm seeing a little bit of a challenge with following directions. Can you recommend anything or give me some advice? Because they may open up and share some more information about their child with you at this time. And it's just super important that you show them how much you care about their child. So what are some of the recommended modifications that we use in an inclusive program at a club? I think it's great to use a visual schedule, which I'll go over in a minute, which is an order of activities. It's good to have a first then. So first then boards are very popular, especially in the special needs schools, where it's just a picture and it says first tennis, then iPad, whatever is something they really want to work toward, that's motivating. Use poly spots. So obviously as a coach, you know what they are. They're the colored circles on the tennis court. Make sure that the child on the spectrum knows where to stand. They don't always know where their body is in space, so it's important that you always use poly spots for drills and games. Provide sensory breaks. So if you see a child who's maybe struggling and having a moment on the tennis court, simply say, hey, would you like a break? They may be overwhelmed with the sensory system or with the heat or talking, whatever it is. So they may need a 1 or 2 minute break before they return to class. And I would always partner a child who you suspect may have some type of autism, or whether it's ADHD, anything that they struggle with. Pair them with a strong role model in class for following directions and social skills. So if there's a child who you think is a leader in the class and is always first in line, it might be good to pair this child with that student so that they're able to work together. And I said, speak with parents. Do not assume or diagnose as a tennis professional. Let the parents know the on-court challenges and what you're doing to create a successful experience for their child. Ask for any additional input and show them that you care as a tennis professional. But how do you create a positive experience for a child in your program who is or may be on the autism spectrum? My husband, Kyle Lacroix, is an amazing USPTA tennis professional, and we kind of discussed this, and he taught me a little bit about the 3 E's. So you always want to bring education. So what are the goals? What are you trying to work on with your program? Number 2, bring exercise, high energy, be innovative with drills and games. And number 3, provide enjoyment for the kids and verbally praise them. If you see a child who may be on the spectrum in an inclusive setting, they may not progress as fast as the others. You don't want to call them out on it, but you might praise them for the success that you do see on the tennis court, and show the child that you care, because to them, you're a role model, you're their coach, and it's important that they typically tend to look up to you. How do you know if this is a successful experience for the child? Parents are the first typically to say, hey, my son loves your program, we can't wait to return. If you may see improvement with the child's social skills. He may be excited to see his new tennis friends in the next session. You may see improvement with hand-eye coordination skills. For instance, ground strokes, volleys, whatever you're working on, you may see that their motor planning and their coordination skills are more fluid and natural. The child may be rallying better. He may learn to, rally back and forth, and he, most importantly, the child is excited to return for the next season. So a child on the spectrum is very in tune with the way others, how they perceive them, and even if it's nonverbal. So do your best as a coach, as challenging as it may be, to stay positive. This is a definition of a visual schedule. I actually use this for Love Serving Autism, but I highly recommend coaches use this as well for junior programs. I think it's great. We all need schedules, and we need to know what we're doing in our classes. So visual schedules use a series of pictures to communicate activities or steps of a specific activity. They're often used to help children understand and manage the daily events in their lives. Visual schedules can be created using pictures, photographs, or written words, depending upon the ability of the child. So as you can see, our visual schedule on our tennis court, whether we're in person or on Zoom, which we're doing virtual as we speak, we do greetings, a character development trait, stretching exercises, warm up, water break, hand-eye drills, water break, stroke production, group cheer, and then tennis updates. So this is the order of what we typically do in our Red Ball program here for Love Serving Autism. But again, you can modify this according to your group and the level. But I just think it's really important. It decreases a child's anxiety when they know what you're working on the tennis court. And excuse me, tennis to me, in my mind, is more than the sport. It's also a great space to work on language skills. Even if a child's not on the spectrum, you can still, as a coach, work on them with their social skills. So this is a sentence communication board we use in Love Serving Autism. And if a child's nonverbal or minimally verbal, we ask that they do point to request. So if they want a tennis racket, instead of just handing it to them, they may say, I want a racket, or I'm all done, I need a break. So communication boards facilitate language skills for children on the spectrum. Language skills are broken down into 3 main categories. Receptive language is comprehension, following directions. Expressive language is requesting and commenting and protesting, I don't like that. And pragmatic language is the social skill piece. So how is the child doing in conversational exchanges with others? It's important that as a coach, we're working on tennis, but we see the bigger picture. And what we learn and what we teach in tennis, the goal is for it to generalize into other settings. And on the bottom here, it says, coaches may also want to point to the picture symbols to communicate with their students, because a child with autism processes faster auditorily than, visually than auditorily. So when they see something visually, they process a lot faster than when you coach and use a lot of words. Autism is across a lifespan. I sometimes have coaches say, when does it go away? Or will they ever get better? Or how do they progress? And early intervention is critical. As Robin stated, not all children are diagnosed, in my opinion, early enough. But as soon as they're diagnosed, it's important to get them into therapies to rewire, the programming in their brain so that they have language skills. Symptoms often surface between 12 and 18 months. An estimated 40% of people with autism are nonverbal. And interestingly, 31% of children with autism have an intellectual disability. So that leaves 70% that don't. And you will meet children in your program who are gifted intellectually on the spectrum. I even meet children who are nonverbal who are gifted. So we don't assume that they're not smart just because they can't speak. We always want to assume that they're competent. Autism is a lifelong neurological disorder. As they progress and transition into adulthood, tennis is more functional. What we work on is more functional in nature. So we teach, communication skills and life skills for potential vocational and job settings. And about 1 in 6 children aged 3 to 17 are diagnosed with a developmental disability, which is a pretty big number. And this is a picture of Antoine. He's a wonderful student who has progressed through red, orange, and green dot ball, and he's learning to play yellow ball now. And he was at the US Open. We brought 21 children from Palm Beach to New York in 2019 for a Net Generation on-court experience. And he actually was invited to toss a coin for a few matches. And the quote here, 1 in 20 children have a disability. That gives 19 kids a daily opportunity to learn about diversity, collaboration, inclusion, and friendship. So in your junior program as a coach, if you have a child who's on the spectrum or they have ADHD or something else going on, they all learn from each other. The peers can become friends with them, and that child can teach the other children about what they're going through. So do your best to encourage the juniors to work, really to work as a group. My final comments for club directors and tennis professionals: advocate for inclusion. Be open-minded. Individuals on the spectrum teach us to think outside of the box, so find new ways to teach. Volunteer programs, try to promote the understanding and awareness in community because everyone benefits. And if you have a child who may be on the spectrum you don't know or may have some challenges in your class, please seek advice from a local adaptive organization within the adaptive programming and inclusion questions. So for instance, you can reach me, email me, contact me and say, hey, this is my experience so far. Do you have any suggestions? And Temple Grandin is someone famous who's on the spectrum. She has a wonderful quote: the most important thing people did for me was expose me to new things. In the bottom right-hand picture, this is a group of children in Green Acres, Florida. A few parents are here. We have a registered behavior therapist as well. And they've been playing tennis together now for 3 years in a row. They meet at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, bright and early. And it's a family. So they really love meeting each other. And on the left-hand side is a picture from Frank Veltri Tennis Center in Plantation, Florida, where we had one of our classes in Broward County. And I have actually one more PowerPoint to share with you. So this is so far, this is my information. Lisa@loveservingautism.org if you'd ever like to reach me. Specifically about inclusion questions, if you want to know more about how to modify a game or a drill, or speak to a child who's in your class or redirect them, please contact me. And we do have social media pages, Love Serving Autism, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you're welcome to follow us. And I have one more PowerPoint which I'd like to share. So let me stop this share. And now that was specifically about inclusion. And I really feel that it's important because most of you as tennis professionals will meet a child again on the spectrum in one of your classes. And next up, I'd like to share a quick little video. Oh, I have to get out of there first. There we go. Okay, so that was actually a video of Love Serving Autism here in South Florida. And what I'm going to do now, pardon me, I'm going to escape that. I'm going to play my other PowerPoint, which I'd like to share with you. And the reason I switched from inclusion now to adaptive programming is because not everyone will be fully immersed in a tennis program for children with autism like I am. But I wanted you to know the difference between inclusion versus specifically focusing on teaching adaptive tennis. So now I'm going to switch over to adaptive on-court drills. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Adaptive tennis pathway. So we do in adaptive tennis start with red ball, and 80%, if I could approximate, of our children and adults do play red ball tennis, and some progress, some stay in red ball for years, depending on their ability level. But the goal is our pathway. So obviously, as a tennis professional, you know about making sure you pair a child with the right size racket, which is super important. We use visuals on the tennis court. So this is specifically for adaptive program like Love Serving Autism, Special Olympics, any type of program that is all has adaptive athletes on the tennis court specifically. So as you can see, we have life skill traits. We have a first thin board that I talked about, first tennis thin, and they can put a picture of something that they're working for, a sentence building board. We use a lot of visuals. And if you're ever a Love Serving Autism coach, USC Florida created a wonderful page on their website specifically for us. And coaches can print all the visuals and bring them to the program. So as well as a new banner that we have with the visuals. So you have access to these visuals as one of our coaches. Keep verbal instruction short for increased auditory processing. So you really want to use more gestures and visuals than speaking if you are a coach and you're working with an adaptive athlete. I know this is a lot of words. I'm just going to review the everything highlighted in red. So I created a list. I'm on the UST National Adaptive Committee, and we're working on adaptive curriculum for coaches, which is exciting. And so we made a list of on-court modifications that we recommend for adaptive tennis for coaches. Number 1, educate volunteers. Number 2, utilize volunteers to support the coaches. If a volunteer comes out to a program, make sure that they have something to do. Pair them with the student. Number 3, break down directions and deliver in a simple, clear, and concise manner. 4th, ask specific questions rather than being open-ended. So do you want the red racket or green racket versus what kind of racket do you want? Be specific with your questions to these students. Visuals are, as I said, essential. Number 6, demonstrations should always be completed before you ever introduce a new game or activity. First, the coach leads, then the volunteer and player, and then the player. So you always want to model as a coach so that the child and adult can visually see and process what you're expecting them to do. Number 7, always ask a player for permission to place hand over hand. So if a child needs physical prompting and is not independent, instead of walking over and grabbing their hand and helping them, make sure you say, is it okay if I help you today? Understand that personal space works both ways and needs to be respected by everyone. Number 9, routine is key. For a child on the spectrum, they love repetition, and this is so important to keep on the same schedule as much as possible and to let them know in advance if there's any kind of deviation from the routine. As I said, number 10, before making any transition to a new activity, prepare them in advance. Schedule plenty of water breaks, especially here in South Florida. Some of our children on the spectrum do have seizure disorders, and the parents usually tell us in advance, but make sure that everyone's hydrated. Number 12, be patient and provide the player an opportunity to express themselves verbally or through tools such as a picture board or sign language. You ask them a question, give them a minute to answer. 13, provide game choices to empower the players. So let them pick and choose which game they want to play. And number 14, use first then statements. And first we'll finish our forehands, then we will get to play freeze tag. And 15, have expectations for appropriate behavior. If someone does not have appropriate behavior, do your best to redirect them as a coach and keep it positive. Praise accordingly, and as again, give a lot of positive reinforcement. This is a picture of our Red Ball Love Serving Autism tennis program in Boca Raton at Patrick Park. And it's just a picture of an obstacle course that we set up in the beginning of every class for the students to warm up. This is a picture of our stretching. See, we use the poly spots. We have a bunch of volunteers here in the photos too, so we always use our colored poly spots. The kids are now tossing balls, working on hand-eye coordination, and I do have lesson plans for all of this typed up. So if coaches are interested, I could go over this with you in a lesson plan. We practice our ball rolling, walk the dog. So again, these are drills that most coaches do already in typical junior programs, especially with red ball, but we just modify them for special needs. Hug your racket in line. We do as coaches review this every day because some of the children are not aware that they're swinging their racket in line. So obviously you have to hug the racket. These are some pictures of volleys. Now, again, as a coach, I modeled first the activity before I expected the child to do it. And we always use underhand tosses. We don't toss overhand as a coach or volunteer. We always toss underhand. This is a picture of a child. She's 4 years old, and a volunteer is helping her with physical prompting to swing and hit a forehand. I'm modeling a backhand, more backhands. And at the end of our program, we always do group cheers. So we let the children pick, a phrase: tennis is awesome, tennis is fun, tennis is amazing. And as a team, we start together and we end together at every single session. Orange ball. So as I had said, 80% of our children are in red ball, and it may take a while for them to progress to orange dot. But when they're ready to add movement, I highly encourage using a ladder. So we use agility ladders. We took some photos here. So this is a ladder with 3 volleys and backpedaling. So the student would run up the ladder, hit 3 volleys across, backpedal, and get back in line. This is more photos of running up the ladder, 3 forehand volleys across. And if you could see, we always use the poly spots. Again, that's critical because the children, especially on the spectrum, they're learning where they are in space, and they need to know where to stand. So try to remember as a coach to always use the poly spots. Here's an example of a ladder and 3 stationary backhand volleys across. So 1, 2, 3 across and back pedal. And now we're working on our ground strokes. So we typically start with volleys because there's a higher success rate with volleys than ground strokes, and then we move the kids back. So here's an example. He's actually a volunteer. He's demonstrating running up the ladder, hitting 3 backhand ground strokes. And so again, orange ball, I'm just moving through that pretty quickly, but it's important as a coach to identify when a child's ready to move to the next level. And if you have a lot of kids on your court, sometimes we teach up to 10 children at once. Either reach out to me if you're in a Love Serving Autism program and say, hey, I have a child who's ready for the next level. Can we create a orange ball class, or how can I modify and meet his needs within the red ball program? Because we do want everyone to reach their potential. And then now it's green ball. So green ball obviously is on a full-size tennis court, and we work a lot more on movement, on rallying back and forth. And here's a drill: 3 forehand ground strokes across the baseline, 3 backhand ground strokes across the baseline. And when the students are standing in line, they're always on the poly spots, hugging their racket. Here is a transition drill. So a child would hit a forehand in the baseline, a short ball or approach shot, hit 2 volleys and an overhead, and then backpedal back to the line. And again, when they're at this level, we have around 7 children in our program out of the 250 currently in Florida who have advanced to green dot. And once you model as a coach, they'll pick it up. They're very quick visually, so they'll understand exactly what you expect of them. Serving. So we do in our green dot program, we are working on serving. And we're actually teaching virtual tennis right now to all levels, and we're practicing our ball toss. So I think it's important at whether it's red, orange, or green dot, you can practice your serve. But obviously in green dot, we're learning how to serve and return and keep score, learning the lines, baseline, service line, net. So we have picture cards, and we talk about, what are the different lines on the tennis court, so they're aware. And the biggest goal for us on our adaptive tennis pathway is yellow ball. It's important as a coach, again, to identify when a student is ready to advance to that level. And when they are, why not invite them to an after-school junior program? Contact me and say, hey, Lisa, I have a student who's doing incredibly well, and I think that they deserve an opportunity to play in an after-school junior program with typical peers. And I've actually shadowed a few times and attended a few classes where a child did transition, and it took a few weeks, but it did become a successful experience for everyone. And actually, the children in the class were not aware that that student had autism, so it was a learning experience for everyone. Yellow ball, they're learning to serve, return, and scorekeeping. One of our goals is to create an adaptive tennis league. So it's something that we do hope to work on again once everything fully reopens. And USDA tournaments. So I know we're partnering with the American Tennis Association. They have a big tournament coming up at the national campus in the fall. And we do hope that some of our students who are at this level can participate in tournament play. And again, thank you for your time and support of adaptive tennis. Together we can make a difference. This is my contact information here. And I just really, let me end this here. Wanted to clarify with you guys that adaptive tennis is something very unique. It changed my life. I just wanted to kind of go over this. You know, I did play tennis in college and professionally for a bit. And I think that this changed my perspective on the game of tennis completely. And even as a coach, it's very rewarding. And it's exciting to say, you know, hey, I helped a child with special needs on my tennis court today, because I think that's truly inclusive and really inviting, including everyone who may have different needs or different abilities than yourself as a coach. So I just wanted to say thank you all for being here today. And just to review quickly again, the inclusion model, which most of you will see at your clubs, even the director of tennis will see. I know my husband has seen at his facility, at his club at the Oaks in Boca. So feel free to reach out to me anytime you have questions about that. If you have a child, you're not sure how to work with them, it's important that we find a way to make it work. And it can become a successful experience. And if you're involved at the next level to work with a child, some of you may be love serving autism coaches on this call. I don't know, but I think that if you are interested in running an adaptive program, we do have the resources and tools to help you. And that is obviously another level of programming. But the USTA National Adaptive Committee, we're working hard on a curriculum and even a coach's certification so that you can continue to learn and grow in this area. And so thank you. And I guess, Deanne, are there any questions today?
Yes, we have some questions and we have some comments, and I'd like to take this time and thank you and Robin again today. You did an awesome job. We've been at this now for 3 days and it's been wonderful just working with you two on this. Those of you who missed any of the sessions, we will have the recordings sent out. But yesterday was lots of fun doing our virtual tennis as always. So I do have a couple of questions. So the first one, Robin, if I feel and I know that my child may be on the spectrum, what next? What are the steps that I should take as a parent to get help? Is it to my pediatrician or is there something else that I should do?
Depending on the age of the child, if they are not yet school age, I would definitely refer them to their pediatrician. Have that conversation, use Dr. Google. There are, great resources that I did share that you have access to. And if they are school age, talk to the school's psychologist, the school psychologist or the school's ESC professional there, that they will be able to direct you further for evaluations.
Okay, great. And Lisa, if you have a child in your class who you believe is on the spectrum, how do you make the rest of the class support that child? What are some of the things that you do to do that?
Right. And I'm listening to the question. So you may not know as a coach, right, if the child is on the spectrum, but you may have your suspicions. I think first of all, as a coach, you're there as a role model to children. So being positive, encouraging, and I'll go over a few tips in a minute, but I just think it's important that, you really don't isolate them or call them out on the behavior, because I think it could increase it. But I do think, again, pairing, okay, I see a child who may have some challenges right now and they're not focused and they're distracted and they're talking too much and they're not in line. find a strong role model, find a student in that class that you can pair them with, or at least stand next to model the appropriate behavior, because I think that's first and foremost. I think children tend to model each other, and whether you're on the spectrum or not, I think that we do follow each other's instructions, and kind of for that. And also, I talked about the visual schedule. I do think that it's important as a coach for the children to know in advance, and when they walk on the court, what are we doing today? Whether you have any pictures or not, something that you can educate the children with, to say, okay, we have a 1-hour class today, and we're doing, warm up, stretching, 30 minutes of drills, and a game after. Because the child who may have anxiety, I think that helps them. Okay, now I know what to expect in this class. They may be less disruptive. So that's something else that I think that is beneficial for them to work on. And again, just try your best to be as encouraging. And if they're having a complete meltdown, obviously you want to give them a sensory break. Hey, I think you need a break right now. I'll give you a 2-minute break. And keep teaching your class. I wouldn't stop the whole class for this child, because sometimes it's attention-seeking behavior. Other times it's not. So, they're trying to regulate themselves. So do your best to keep teaching as a coach, keep everyone going, and kind of look back and say, okay, is that child ready to participate again? And be positive and try to redirect them back to class.
Okay, great. So you have a couple of fans here. John Manning is saying hi to you, and he wants to know if you really enjoy teaching the virtual tennis. Do you think it's worth the effort?
Well, ProSet Autism is incredible. It's inclusive tennis. It's an organization in Canada, and initially Love Serving Autism in April 2020. I transitioned to Zoom from our living room because I didn't know what else to do. I thought, oh my gosh, our organization, we can't just not teach tennis. So started teaching tennis, and then I spoke to the Canadian organization, and we decided to connect together. And now we have students from Canada logging in every week, and they're making friends with our Floridian families. And virtual tennis is a completely different platform. I never expected it, but we work on fitness, hand-eye coordination, social skills, and I think it's a lot of fun. If in February 2020, if someone said you'd be teaching tennis on Zoom, Lisa, I would laugh. But
so with that, Lisa, do you think that post the vaccines, you're going to continue with the virtual?
Well, I did speak to my friend Philippe Manning today in Canada, and we agree we will continue. I think I definitely, I don't know for how long, but I do know that there are families who are benefiting from virtual. Even yesterday, as you know, Deanne, families from California logged in. Those are children for the first time who had never.
Oh, they loved it, yeah.
And
they
I thought,
their
wow,
dustpans. They didn't.
They have their dustpans and they're playing. So I think there's a need for it, and we're still trying to define that need and like the level of it. But I think that it opened another platform for us. So yes, we have a lot of fun.
I totally agree, because I think that the whole world shall have your talents, not just Florida.
Thank you.
Okay, someone else had a question about, considering the pandemic crisis, do you still recommend pairing a child with autism with another child?
That is a great question. I could speak more from the adaptive programming side. Right now, parents are on court for the most part, volunteering with their children. We don't really have our full set of volunteers back on court yet, due to the social distancing and wearing the mask. And it's a whole, here in South Florida, it's 95 degrees in the tennis court. So, we mandate children wear masks to and from tennis, but not necessarily when they're playing, because it just gets too hot. But I would have to say it depends on the situation. Before COVID, yes, pairing a child with special needs, maybe with another child, would be ideal. But in a junior program, I mean, it's not like they're right next to each other. I mean, if you could space them out apart enough to where at least the child who's having the struggles knows that that's, my friend over there is helping me, and I'm going to follow my friend. And just to kind of make it clear that, Johnny's going to teach you today some drills and skills that we're working on in class. And so he knows he's with that child. But the social distancing, it's still a challenging topic in tennis, especially in our program.
Mm-hmm.
And the children with autism, they're not always aware of, they always want to hug, even though people think someone with autism is not affectionate, they are. And a lot of them want to hug their coaches and high five their coaches. And we're doing like, racket high fives instead and redirecting them. And I think most understand now after a year that, this is something that we have to follow.
Yeah, that must be difficult. Someone wants to know, I am not sure, Alamanda Elementary in Palm Beach Gardens happens to have the largest number of students with autism. Have you approached them and introduced yourselves?
Alamanda?
Yeah.
I know, I'm aware of this. Being a speech and language therapist, I know the names of a lot of the schools in the district, and I haven't really had direct contact with Alamanda. I would love to invite some of the children there to our Palm Beach Gardens tennis program if this person has any contacts.
Yeah, and how about you, Robin? Robin, how
I
about
have
you?
been in contact with Alamanda. I've attended a couple of their special needs programs. They do have an amazing autistic unit there, and they have a lot of supportive teachers. So FAU Card has connected, and we do support that school firsthand and a lot of their families.
And how about other schools in Palm Beach County? That was a follow-up question they had.
FAU Card is pretty much all over. My specific position with leading the initiative for underrepresentation is I target the highly African American populated schools. So I have embedded and entrenched FAU Card and our services into those neighborhoods in Palm Beach, St. Lucie County, Martin counties, Indian River County, 5 counties within Florida.
Okay, great. The other thing someone wanted to know is, have you approached the media? And I think you have done this. Lisa, do you approach the media to promote your organization and all that you do for children?
The media?
Yeah.
So we do have a woman whose son is in our tennis program. He's 21 years old, and she is a PR consultant. So she has more of the media connections than I do. But I do my best to promote our organization through social media. And we have some wonderful college students now who are helping with social media. But as far as the news and the news coverage, that's something that typically, if we have a fun event coming up, I might send a flyer, or the woman who helps us, she may film and record and then send the footage to the news stations. So it's not something I do directly because I don't really have those contacts, but we're doing our best to spread the word and to promote what we're doing into the community. And I think it's making a difference.
Okay, great. So this was Eduardo Grooveman, and so he says, you know him, so reach out to him. And everyone is thanking you guys, but I do have a couple more questions that I wanted to ask. First for you, Lisa, do you think the USPTA and the PTR should add modules in its training to increase the skills of coaches for adaptive tennis, or just working with different learning populations?
Yes, and that is a current project we're working on.
Okay,
so
great.
Actually, right. So USPT and PTR on our adaptive committees, we are creating adaptive content for future online courses for tennis professionals so that they can learn more about adaptive tennis. So it is a project that's in the works, and we hope that in the next year, the coaches will, hopefully sooner, will have access to these courses.
Okay. And so my last question tonight would be for both of you. What do you find as the best tip or tool that you can give if you had to come away with one out of your arsenal that you can give everyone tonight? Either it's a tip or a tool that you utilize that you think is the best thing that they should adopt now. You want to go first, Robin?
I'd say spread the awareness now that you have this new knowledge, because in the African American population, not many know what autism is. They don't know what it looks like or how to respond to someone with autism. So now that you have this information, share it. Put it in your communities, in your programs, have those conversations with those that need it, and, and enlighten yourself. So, I mean, I'm really excited that you guys took the time out to come and be a part of this, to learn this information, because, I mean, you're not closing your minds off to something that's so vital. So I would say continue to learn and open up those conversations.
Thank you, Robin. I have 2 points. course.
And then one of the things that while you're making your 2 points, somebody wanted for you to explain how one-on-one teaching is beneficial. So maybe you can make 3 points.
3 points. Right. Okay, so the 2 points about today's takeaways, I would say, is coaches use visuals. Whether you're in an inclusive program or adaptive program, try to use polyspots, try to use a visual schedule. I think children in general like to see pictures and visuals, and especially if you're on the spectrum, you're going to process information faster visually. And I think it decreases that anxiety that, oh, what are we doing out here? We also have storybooks for children, a social storybook for a student who's new to tennis, and a parent can read with them that social story so that they know what to expect on their first day. Number 2, I would have to say, be open to inclusion. I know most of you, especially in South Florida, are teaching 12, 13-hour days on the tennis court, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I have the energy to go and volunteer or work with the child with special needs. It's so much work, but it does put your coaching in perspective. You can learn to appreciate it a little more, I think, because I know it's a big industry where we are, and I think it's helped me in my life. And I guess the third question you were saying, Deanna, about one-on-one coaching, is it beneficial?
Yeah, someone wanted you to explain how one-on-one coaching is beneficial to children with autism.
Well, actually, it's a good point. I'm assuming it's tennis. We really don't have many children. We have group classes, but I could see how a one-on-one session would be beneficial because it's less distractions. You're focusing on one child. But I like the benefit also of groups because it's social skills. They engage in conversation with their peers, and they're learning to interact in a group. So I actually see the benefit of both. I think a one-on-one setting, like a homeschool, even in school, they can accelerate and advance faster, but then they need the socialization piece too.
Okay, well, great. Well, I think that, wait, hold on. I think we might have, nope, that's pretty much it. People are telling us great program, excellent presentation. And I just want to echo the sentiments of that. I really, really appreciate you, Robin, and you, Lisa, for your time and for giving us all this wealth of knowledge, providing all these tools. I will be sending out, if you register to any sessions, you get the link and the recording of all the sessions. Also on our website, there will be information there for you to download and links to their website. So please do that and support their organization. So thank you. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to Roxanne. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lisa and Robin. I want to also thank Deanne for taking time out during this weekend and moderating our sessions on the autism. And it's a very, very important subject for the ATA, because we are an organization that believes in diversity. We believe in equity and inclusion. So thank you for spending the night with us tonight. Please remember, if you're a coach, to send us an email so that we can give you credit for attending this important webinar. Have a good evening and enjoy. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ATA and FAU.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.